A very warm welcome and hello to our webinar. My name is Bernhard Rastorfer and I am responsible for modern workplace solution here at Cosmo Consult. In the next hour, we will give you just an overview how Microsoft Teams can help you and your company in the current situation. Therefore, we will cover two topics today. An overview over the most important functions of Microsoft Teams when working in the home office. And the second part will be, we will explain the next steps that are necessary to roll out Microsoft Teams in your company as quickly as possible. If you are interested in detailed trainings, either for your employees or for your administrators, please contact the email address that we will show in the bottom. With me in the webinar, still my colleague Andreas Tumfat, even though only virtually. Hello, Andreas.
Hello, Bernhard.
I suggest we start with showing the basic functionalities of Microsoft Teams that are essential to have when you want to work in the home office.
So that's the Microsoft Teams desktop client. So I opened it now on my computer, of course, because that's the basic way, that's the usual way I work with. You can also use Microsoft Teams in your web browser in case you prefer to have it in web browser, or maybe you're working on a device you don't have the option to install an application on. So yeah, I started Microsoft Teams on the desktop. I logged in with my user, so I have my username and password to log in. You can see the name or the icon on the right top here. And then I have the interface with the different functionalities. So basically, you have the main navigation here on the left top with the activities, the chat functionality, the Teams, calendars, calls, and files, and more options. Yeah, and some help on the bottom left if you need it. That's the basic user interface, and from here you can enter the different functionalities like the chat function. So here you have the contacts, so the recent chats actually, so you can pin them as well in the top. You can look at your contacts if you want to. You can just enter a name at the top in the search bar to start the conversation. Let's do it like this. There should be someone named Alex. Yeah, here he is.
Okay. Which people do you find in this search? Everybody in the company, or even people outside the company? How is that working?
If you search by name, you find everybody based on the name inside your organization. If you enter an email address, you can also search for external contacts, and it will pop up, or it will be shown that it's an external contact. And you can send them messages as well, of course, if they use Microsoft Teams. If they don't use Microsoft Teams, you can't directly send them a message. But yeah. So in this case, I searched for Alex. I added him to my chats, and now I can send him directly a message, which works like any other instant messaging tool. I have a text box at the bottom where I can enter the message I want to have and click on the send button or press enter. And there are different other functionalities down here. I can schedule a meeting right away, use some formatting, or mark a message as important, which helps to reach him. So it's marked on his side as well, of course, and it even interrupts if he has a call. I can even interrupt a call to reach him, so he sees that I have an important message and something he has to do right away. And what we can also do at the bottom here is attach a file. I can click on that button, upload it from my computer, or use a file I've already stored in OneDrive. If I upload it, it's also stored in OneDrive, and that's something completely different than you're used maybe in Outlook. In Outlook, you add it to your email and send pretty much a copy of the file via email. In Microsoft Teams, you upload it to the cloud and then work on the same document.
Okay, so this is a great feature for collaboration. So you have the chat on the one side, which is communication. But if I want to work on one document, let's say I have a quote or an offer, and multiple people are working on this quote, it's just possible to upload it or to share it in the chat, and both people can work simultaneously in the same file. So did I get that right?
Correct, yeah. I can directly upload it from my computer. We can try that if we want to. So I can press the upload button. get the dialog where I can add a select a file from my computer. Let's just take something maybe from the desktop, some example document. It's an Excel sheet in this case, so I can add a message as well, and they can already see that it's uploading the file already. In this case, I maybe don't want to add a message, but I can directly send the files. It's now stored in my OneDrive, and it's shared with Alex. So we have the same file, and both can work on the same document at the same time.
Okay, that's a
no
great
need
feature.
to merge two files together if he changes something and I change something in the meantime as well.
Is it also possible that a group of people is chatting together and working on a file, or is it just a one-to-one communication and collaboration?
That's also possible. It's always possible to add more people to the conversation by clicking the button at the right top, the add people here. So I can add more employees, more colleagues to this conversation, or I can start a new conversation from the new chat button at the top and add people by entering their names here. So like this, and add more, like Megan, and then start a new conversation. I have the same options down here. I can add files. I also have this files tab at the top where I can switch to the files and see which files are shared in this conversation, which is especially useful if you have longer conversations with a colleague over several weeks, several months, and don't want to scroll up to find the file he shared a few weeks ago with you.
Okay, so that's great. So we have chat communication and files. If I want to make a verbal conversation with them or even a video conversation, is that also possible?
Yeah, that's directly possible from the chat window. So if I'm texting now with them and have the impression maybe they didn't understand what I want to tell them through my text messages, which happens sometime, I can directly call them from these buttons at the right top, either with an audio call or a video call. Right away, and both of them will be called in this way, in this case, because I have a group conversation with two people. It will start a group call with the three of us.
Okay, that brings me to a very important question, because when we think about home office and the situation that we have today, then it's maybe not always possible that people have the hardware. So they have a notebook with a very new webcam and a very new microphone and so on. So what possibilities do I have to use Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, I can use it on pretty much any client. There's also a client for Mac OS, so for Apple devices. You can use it on smartphones and tablets. So there's also clients for Android phones and Android tablets and iOS phones. So the Apple iPhone, and you can use it on multiple devices at the same time as well. So you can use start the application on your phone and your desktop, and maybe attend a call on your phone while chatting with somebody on your desktop device as well.
Okay, so it's possible to be logged in on the desktop and on the phone. So writing and chatting with other people on the desktop client, and then have the phone or the tablet or maybe even the headset of the phone and the tablet, and do the call with the hardware that is supposed to be to work. If I have a desktop client at home, maybe because I have no notebook from the company and I want to work with Microsoft Teams, is there also a web client? So just logging in maybe without installing an application?
Yeah, you can also use a web client, which you can access via teams.microsoft.com and just log in there as well. Instead of using the desktop client, and the look and feel of the web client is pretty much the same or completely the same as it is here. So it's, yeah, there's no real difference in accessing files, chatting and stuff like that on the web client.
Okay, so this is great news. No matter which hardware I have, old desktop PC, old laptop. As long as I do have a phone, I can install the Microsoft Teams app, log in on both devices, and start working. Okay, so now we have the video call and the audio call, but there is a third button. What does the third button mean?
Yeah. The third button is for screen sharing, so I can share my screen or share a single application with the colleagues. So that works like this. There's a small dialog coming up, and I can select if I want to share a specific window or the whole screen with my colleagues, which is also accessible in a chat functionality, but of course also in meetings and voice chat or audio chats where I can share my screen. That's pretty a good thing if you want to work on a file together. So one opens the file and edits it. The second one is called in, and you share the screen and look through it at the same time. So you always know about which sentence or which part of the document you're talking about, instead of having to tell them, yeah, look at line 10 at the third page. We should rephrase that sentence or something like that. You can directly show it on your screen, and you can even give control over your screen. So maybe the other person can edit it or control your PowerPoint presentation and switch to the next slide, something like that. Yes.
Okay, that's great. So these are ad hoc possibilities to contact the people. Is there also a possibility to schedule meetings with them, or do I have to do that in Outlook?
No, you can directly schedule meetings in Microsoft Teams as well. So you can either do it from the chat, as I said earlier, with the specific person you have in the current chat conversation, or you can go to the calendar functionality of Microsoft Teams and schedule a meeting there. So it's similar to the Outlook calendar, but it's usually it's not integrated if you don't have Exchange Online or your current local Exchange server connected. So it's in this case only showing the online meetings of Microsoft Teams, and I have my calendar with the different meetings that I can directly access a meeting. So I can just click on it to see the details of the appointment, and have a join button as well to join it, the meeting. Also with details or meeting notes or a whiteboard if I want to sketch something during the meeting. And of course, I can create new meetings from here, from the calendar, by using the meeting button.
Okay, that's great functionality. So everything that we need to have for communication and collaboration can be done directly out of Microsoft Teams. Okay, so I think that was it more or less with the chat. So we have seen we can chat with one people, with multiple people, we can share files with them, work simultaneously on the files, we can call the people, we can video call the people, we can share our screen, and we even have the possibility to have multiple devices logged in. So doing calls with the phone to have a good audio and video quality, and working on the files and doing the chat via the desktop PC or even the web client to have a big screen to work with. Okay,
Correct.
so now there is another button. It's Teams in Microsoft Teams. So what's that? What's the difference between the chat and the team?
Yeah, that's one of the major functions of Microsoft Teams. So inside your Microsoft Teams application, you have different teams you can set up here. So they can be used for a project, they can be used for a whole department, for like a small team inside a department to communicate and share files with each other. Yes, you could do also the same. You can communicate and share files in a chat, but the difference is that teams are more for a permanent or long-term usage, like having a department team which you will use for the next few years, or a team for a project which you will use for the next few months or a year until the project is finished. And the difference is you can separate or structure it in different channels, like in this case in something general, in topics design related, in topics research and development related, or marketing related, like the go-to market plan, and separate it in different channels. and inside the channels you have the same functionality for chats and conversations you can have here with somebody writing a message and mentioning somebody like me in this case, and I can reply to them or even like the message if I want to. And I can also share files. The difference in file sharing is that it's a common space for the file sharing. It's not a file I upload to my OneDrive and share with the other person, but it's still my file. That's the case in chats. In Teams, I upload it to a shared space, and whoever is member or owner of the team can access the file. Even if I leave the team, it's still there. In a chat, if I leave or turn off the sharing of the file, it's gone for the others.
Okay, so that's interesting. So long-term working together is a team, and ad hoc, a short thing to discuss, a short file to share. This is a chat. So there can be, as you said, different types of teams. So there can be a project team, as you said before, as we have here, but it could also be a people of a department having a team working together and communicating, and there could be organization-wide teams that make it possible that maybe the CEO or the marketing department or the HR department, they spread information to the people in the company. So this could be examples for a team in Teams.
Correct, yeah. You can have different types of teams. We can just create the team right now if we want to.
Okay.
So there's a button to join or create the team.
Okay. Can anybody in the company create a team, or is it limited to some kind of administrators or something?
Default functionality in Microsoft Teams is that everybody can create teams, but it's possible to limit that functionality by applying some policy. So only maybe the department managers can create teams, but per default in the standard functionality, it's that everybody can create teams.
Okay. So you can create a team or you can join a team, obviously. So if I have created a team, I can invite other people to my team by sharing a code, or what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, you can join a team by using a code. That's interesting for owners of a team who don't want to invite every person by their own. You can share a code via email to a distribution list to a group of people, and they can join using the code if they want to. So they don't have to, of course. And it's also possible to use public teams and join them right away without any code or any invitation.
Okay.
So we don't see any public teams right here, but it would be possible to search through them and to join them right away.
Okay,
and
there would be multiple tiles if there are public teams, and I could just click on it and join. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, correct.
But the majority will be private teams, because I, as an owner of a team, I want to create a team and invite special people that are in my department or that are in my project, and I want to work together with them.
Yeah, especially for projects or departments, you usually create a private team, so you can control who is in the team, and not that anybody joins or can join if they want to, because you're usually handling information that's should only be available to your group of people that you selected. So usually you create a private team. Yeah, I already clicked on the create a team button, so I'm now asked if I want to create a team from scratch or to create a team based on an Office 365 group. The usual way is to create it from scratch, because most of the time you don't have an existing group you want to use. Yeah, here you can create now a new team, a private one, a public one, as we said, or an organization-wide, which would mean all the persons, all the employees of the organization are added automatically. And even if you add or create a new user in your administration of Office 365, he or she is added automatically to the organization-wide team. So in our case, let's create maybe a public team this way, this time, which is then public to everybody of the organization. And let's call it Corona Crisis Information and everybody in the organization can join it if they want to, and press create. And it takes a second or two to create the team. You can also already see it maybe in the background here that it appeared at the bottom of my teams list. And now it's asking me if I want to add people to the team already. So I can select somebody from the employees of the organization and add him. Or I, of course, could also enter an email address of an external contact and add external contacts to the group. And for the role, for internal people, I can decide if he's an owner or a member. You can't make external contacts to owners. Okay, I added Alex. That's okay for now. I can add other people, of course, anytime you want. You don't need to add all the people you think about at the beginning. You can change that later on and invite more people. So, and yeah, now I have a simple new team with one channel that's always created, and the basic functionality of this channel with the posts, with the conversations here, and the files and the wiki. That's the default functionality.
Okay, so I see this functionality is very similar to the chat that we had. So posts is the chat you're sharing with different people. So you have the files, as you explained before, the files that are belonging to the team. But I see a wiki and I see a plus in the upper bar. So what does that mean?
In Microsoft Teams, you can add more applications and integrate other applications into Microsoft Teams or into a team. In this case, by default, Microsoft adds a wiki functionality which you can use for documentation in here. You can also remove it or rename it if you want to.
Okay.
But you can also add other tools and other applications as tabs in your channel. You can use maybe a file of Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or even an Excel sheet or integrate OneNote if you want to use it for documentation, or a Microsoft Planner for tasks. But there are also several other external applications, third-party applications, which already provided an integration to Microsoft Teams. So you can see here that's different third-party applications like Box, like what we have here, Nabu. There's
You
also
mentioned
some Jira.
Salesforce one time, Jira,
Yeah,
okay.
Salesforce is somewhere there. Jira, Confluence is possible to integrate. You can integrate Adobe Sign and the Adobe Creative Cloud if you work in a creative way, in a marketing department maybe, or even in a design agency, which is practical to work on that directly from Microsoft Teams. Yeah, and it's about 300 different tools and applications which don't belong to Microsoft that you can directly integrate here because they provide an interface for Microsoft Teams. And then you can add a specific tab with them in this navigation, have more tabs here with other applications from Microsoft or third party, as I said, to use in your Teams.
Okay, so the base idea is to have Microsoft Teams as a hub. So you don't need to leave Microsoft Teams in order to use third-party applications that you maybe already have in your organization. So let's say you're using Trello or you're using Slack or you're using Dynamics CRM, then you could just write posts, click on the tab, work in this application, jump back to the posts, edit the file, and you don't need to change the applications on your desktop. So that's the base idea of having, as I said before, Microsoft Teams as a central hub for communication and collaboration. So I really like that idea of working together in this one central tool.
Yeah, that's the idea behind Microsoft Teams, that you have a central place for your daily work and add other stuff inside Microsoft Teams and don't leave the application. And we also can create new channels if we want to structure the team differently. And it's also possible to have different tabs here in different channels. So based on the usage, like in this design channel, in this team, you have other tabs than in the research and development channel. because maybe in research and development you need tasks, and in design you don't need tasks.
Okay, so when you create a team, as you have just done with the Corona Crisis Information team, then you have the general channel, so that's always there, but you have the possibility to create these sub-channels, and as you just showed, has different applications, different posts, different files, just to have a bit of organization in the team, let's say. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, so I understand. So you can just create one of these channels by clicking on the three buttons and create a new one.
Correct. I can click on the three buttons of the team. Say here, click on Add Channel and add another channel like HR information. And I can also create a private channel if I want, where I can specifically add some people from the team, and they are then able to see that channel and work in that channel, and the other people of the team can't.
Okay, that's a very interesting functionality. So if I have this Corona Crisis information, I could have general and HR information. Everybody in the team can access this information. And for some reason, I would like to have a channel where only a few people are in, maybe the board team discussing what the next steps that have to be done in order to protect the employees. Then I can make a private team and only add the board members maybe in this special channel, and other people just cannot see the channel.
Correct. I can create a channel that's called now board team and start typing names. So I will also add Alex in this channel, and yeah, I have a new channel now that's called board team with this lock sign next to it. So that's a hidden channel for all the other people, and only the people I invited specifically to that channel can access the information in it.
Okay. Yeah, great. Any other functionality that you would like to show us?
Yeah, that's the functionality about Teams. Basically, what we can go through is the other points here. So the first one is the activities, where you can see if somebody mentioned you, some important information was shared that you should review. You can also access the calls and the call history from this point. So the history shows all the internal calls and the external calls, so inside the organization. The number pad here is only available if you have your external phone system, landline phone, connected to Microsoft Teams. What's also pretty good feature is that you have this files tab here, where you can see all the files you shared or uploaded somewhere, or you worked on recently, and can also access directly your OneDrive, which is your personal document space you have in Microsoft Teams and in the Microsoft Cloud.
So if I have multiple chats and share multiple files, then I have a very good overview here, which files I shared and which files that I only have access, because it would be a kind of messy with the time when sharing multiple files and you don't see exactly who has access to your file. So this is a very good functionality, I think.
Here you can see a folder, Microsoft Teams chat files, and that's the file I uploaded earlier into one of the chats, and I see it shared. And from here, I could also remove it because I'm still the owner of the file, and I can delete it or change the sharing options.
Okay.
So,
great.
and one other thing I want to show is the planner functionality. So from here, I could access all the tasks in all my teams. So specifically in projects where you handle a lot of tasks in different projects, you have maybe assigned multiple tasks over 5 projects, and you don't want to, of course, access every project and check every plan and every project if there's a task for you. So there's this single planner globally in Microsoft Teams, and here you can access all the tasks in all the projects which are assigned to you.
I think this is the most important functionality that we have in Microsoft Teams in order to keep the business running in times of home office. So we have seen we can chat, we can share files with one people, so one-to-one. communication, one-to-one file sharing. We can share files and do chat with multiple people, including the communication via audio, via video, and also via screen sharing. And if we have longer lasting projects or departments, we can use Microsoft Teams with all the functionality. So
Correct.
we are aware of that this is a very high level overview of what Microsoft Teams can do. As I said in the beginning, for those who joined us later, this is also the beginning of a webinar and training series. If you're interested in more detailed trainings for your end users and administrators, please write an email to teams@cosmoconsult.com and you will get all the information that you need to go deeper into the functionality. We would like to go to the second stage of our presentation and show you what steps are possible or necessary that you can start using Microsoft Teams very fast. So in this time, as I said before, it's important to keep the business up and running. Andreas, tell us what steps are necessary that we could use starting Microsoft Teams maybe already on Monday.
Yeah, okay. Now you should see the presentation mode. The first step would be to purchase the licenses. So we can offer, there are different types of licenses you can use. Currently, there are two options from our point of view. There's a current Teams offer, which Microsoft offers specifically because of the Corona crisis. So you can use up to 1,000 users for 6 months Microsoft Teams for free. And additionally, some Office 365 features like some SharePoint storage and OneDrive storage. It's not possible to directly contact Microsoft about this offer, so we provide a form where you can enter the most important information we need to register you, and then we configure Microsoft Teams for you and provide you the username and the password for the administrative account. If you can't use the form or directly have another question regarding the offer, you can directly contact us through teams@cosmoconsult.com. As I said, for up to 1,000 users for 6 months for free. After that time, you can migrate to one of the usual Office 365 plans, which uses Microsoft or which offers Microsoft Teams, and there's no migration needed. That's the advantage. You can directly use it still after the 6 months and work with Microsoft Teams with your data you have in Microsoft Teams without any migration.
Okay, so there are no costs. Sorry, Andres. So there are no costs. So you can use Microsoft Teams 6 months for free with 1,000 users. Cosmo Consult is activating the license and give you access, and we are not charging anything for that service from our side. So you can start using Microsoft Teams without any costs for 6 months up to 1,000 users. But there is a second option.
Yeah, the second option is the free edition of Teams. So that's available since a longer time. And there's a free registration using the Microsoft website. I just shortened the official Microsoft URL here so to make it easier to type it from our slide or from our presentation. Important is that it's up to 300 users, so it's limited to 300 users. You have a very limited file storage. It's only up to 10 gigabyte of storage overall. Independent of your number of users, you only get 10 gigabyte of storage, which can be pretty short storage amount for a small storage amount for, let's say, a 200 people company. And the activation configuration can't be done through the IT administrator. So every employee has to sign up through that through that link on the Microsoft website using their email address, and then they can start using Microsoft Teams. There's no central administration or central rollout through IT. That's why we suggest to go for option 1, where you have a central option to manage and roll out the Teams application.
So for what kind of company is option 2?
For smaller companies, for freelancers could be also used very easily. And let's say an agency with people that are pretty familiar with programs, with applications, so they do very well, let's say, with new tools, and maybe 10 employees, maybe 20 employees, but not much more than that.
Okay, so with option 2, you can start using Teams very fast. It's free,
Yep.
it's not limited, but you don't have any possibility to configure anything. People have to register by themselves, no administrative possibility to roll out or whatever. Option 1 is a total normally Teams installation with all functionalities that you have in a paid subscription, 6 months for free, but then you have to move to a paid subscription. But as you said before, there is no necessity to migrate something, so you just start paying for the subscription and can use it as you did before.
The third thing we want to mention is, which we don't have on slides, if your company has more than 1,000 users and is not a managed company by Microsoft already, you can also contact us through the email address, because there's also an offer for larger corporations, which we can set up for you in case you want to use Microsoft Teams right now.
Okay, what's the next step? So we now have the licenses. We set up everything. The Teams subscription is set up. What's the next step?
The next step is to use the administrative login we provide after the setup. So the username and password, you log into Office 365, go to the administrative portal. So there's a backend web interface, and you start creating users. So you can create them by hand, or there's an import functionality to import users from an Excel sheet to a CSV file. So you don't have to create them all by hand, but you create the users, email address, first name, last name, and you select the license they should have, and then you're pretty much good to go and send out the information to your users, and they can start installing Microsoft Teams.
Okay, so they can go to teams.microsoft.com, log in with the provided information, and can download the desktop application, can download the iOS or Android application, and they are good to go.
But there are some other steps we suggest. So the third step would be to think about policies. Even if we want to roll out Teams right away because of the Corona crisis and because we want to use it now, you should think, at least take half an hour to think about the policies. If you want to limit the Teams creation, if you want to limit sharing functionality so people in your organization can't share files with externals and stuff, and you have a bit more control about your over your company data, then you should think about the policies and set up some policies in Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, I think that's very important to do that, because we don't have a lot of time for training the end users, because we want to use Microsoft Teams very fast, and maybe only by not knowing the tool very good, and maybe share internal information with external people. So it's good to set up the policies. There are a lot of policies that can be done, but that's not so easy setting up these policies, but it's yeah, it's possible to do that. Yeah. And we suggest to do it, definitely.
Yeah. In the administrative training we offer, we also show how to set up the policies, so you can learn how to do that. And yeah, the fourth step would then be to roll out to the users. We should suggest to not only send the user information, the username and the password to them, but also send some basic information about Microsoft Teams, how to use it, explain a bit how to use Microsoft Teams, give them at least a bit of training for a few minutes, an introduction, and maybe already set up some channels, a organization-wide team with some basic information, organization-wide team for questions. If they have a problem with Microsoft Teams, they can contact you and so on. So that's what we suggest to do as well.
Yeah, so there are free videos, free training videos from Microsoft. There is the help button that you showed in Microsoft Teams. There are also some video resources from Microsoft that you can use, or you can contact us and Cosmo Consult can do micro trainings also via video, but specifically to your needs, that you get your employees into Microsoft Teams very fast. Okay, so these are the 4 steps that we do suggest. Do you have some tips and tricks for Microsoft Teams that help?
We have some tips and tricks. So first one, disable other applications in Office 365 if you don't intend to use them, so you don't confuse your users and don't make them click on buttons you don't want to have them click right now, because they could activate the feature that you don't want to use at the moment. A basic meeting recommendation: record your meetings so you can review them later, especially if it's an official announcement from management. If it's an official or larger department meeting, record it so other people who might not be able to attend can review it later. Or you can also check the recording later if there's a question regarding the content of the meeting. Use the integration of other tools like OneNote and Planner in Microsoft Teams. That's what makes Microsoft Teams strong. So you can add additional functionality by integrating other tools. As I said, OneNote, Planner, or a third-party tool if you have one in your organization. Find some key users to support the users. It's always easier if they have somebody in their department, in their team, who is a bit more familiar with Microsoft Teams, who knows a bit more about it, so they can directly get help from them. It also helps your IT department to not be overrun with service requests if there are some other people helping the colleagues.
Okay, great.
And the last one, don't see Office 365 only as a tool, but in a larger perspective. So if you like the application now during the Corona crisis time, you might want to use Office 365 afterwards as well, and should think about the strategy, the technology behind it, and the culture in your organization to use Office 365 and the other applications of Office 365 more efficiently and effectively in the organization.
So I think we are finished with our basic things that we want to do. Let's switch to the questions. And the first question is, we showed the calendar functionality, and is this calendar connected to Microsoft Outlook, to my Microsoft Outlook calendar?
The calendar, if you roll Microsoft out now, is not connected to your Outlook calendar because it doesn't connect on the client side. So it doesn't connect if you have Outlook and Teams running on your PC. There is an option to connect it through Exchange Online if you migrate your mailboxes to Exchange Online from your local Exchange server or current email system. And if you have a local Exchange server, there's also an option to connect it to Exchange Online to synchronize this information with Microsoft Teams. But that's all usually things or tasks that need a bit more time and more planning than we have if you want to roll out Microsoft Teams, let's say next week.
Okay, you said that the users can be imported via CSV file or inputted manually. Is it also possible to connect my local Active Directory technically?
Yeah, that's also possible. There is a service called AD Connect. So it's a tool that you have to install on a local computer or a local server environment. It connects to your local Active Directory and synchronizes the users and the information to Office 365. The problem is that's also something you have to plan. You have to test it. All the setup and connection and configuration needs a bit more time. So if you want to start with Teams right away, it's easier to set up users now in Office 365, practically with the same usernames and passwords you have in, or at least with the usernames, the same ones you have in your local environment. So you can set up AD Connect later on and sync the users later on with the existing ones in Office 365. So that's possible to merge them together then.
Okay. So the next question is from licensing. What are the costs for Microsoft Teams after the 6 months of free subscription?
So if you want to use Office 365 or Microsoft Teams in specific after the 6 months, you can choose between business and enterprise plans. There are several different plans, and the range is somewhere between €6 for the cheaper ones and up to 35, 40 euros, depending on features you want to use, like the phone system functionality of Microsoft Teams, further security features like advanced threat protection, which which brings some additional costs with it.
Okay, so it's not so easy to say. Depends on what they would like to use from the Office
Yeah,
365 concept.
basically
Okay.
it starts at around €6.
Okay. And the last question, please demo again the difference between files on the sidebar and files on the top bar and related storage schemes.
Okay. Yeah, let's go through that one again. I have here my chat. So the top files I have in the chat window are files I shared via OneDrive. So if I click on the share button, it directly shows me if I want to select a file which is already in OneDrive or upload one from the computer, which will then be stored in OneDrive. If you don't know OneDrive or don't know what OneDrive is, it's pretty much like Dropbox. So everybody has a personal space, and you can share file with other users, but the file still resides in your personal space.
Okay, the file is still mine. So if I share a file in this top bar in a chat, it's stored in my personal OneDrive. It's my file, and I'm just sharing with the others.
Correct. The others can access it, so you can select if you want to give them read access or write access, so they can either only read or also change the file, but it's still yours. And as soon as you delete it, it's also gone for the other people. Or
Okay.
if you move it from one
Unshare it
folder
with
to the
them.
other.
So,
Sorry?
or I unshare it with them, so it's still private for me, but the others cannot see it,
Correct.
or I delete it, but only I can delete it as it's my file. Okay.
Correct. Absolutely
Okay.
correct.
And what's the difference to the files in Teams?
If the files in Teams, let's switch to one of the teams, to the Files tab, are stored in SharePoint. So they are not stored in OneDrive, they are stored in SharePoint. And SharePoint offers a common space for files. So the files you store here are owned more or less by the company, by the IT administrator. If you upload one file, it's owned by the owner of the team and all the employees in the team. So everybody in the team can change the file. They can also share it with other people. They can download it if they want to. And if you delete it, it's also gone for the others, of course, but it's a shared space, so everybody owns it. If you leave the team, let's say I upload to the board team a file and then leave the team, the file is still there and accessible to the others, but it's no longer accessible to me because I uploaded to the team, and it's not my file. It's not leaving the team with me.
In chat, it's my file. In the team, it's the team file. And as you said, everybody can delete it, everybody can change it, and it's not my file. Okay. And what's the file button in the left bar?
The file button in the left is an overview of both storages of SharePoint and OneDrive. So it's not an additional third storage, it's an overview of both. So the recent file shows all the files I recently used in either chats or in either Teams. There's also a Microsoft Teams overview of files and downloads. If I downloaded the file, it's here like an overview in the browser downloads. And the OneDrive here shows the personal files I have in my OneDrive. So that's all files I stored in OneDrive because I want to have them in the cloud, and all files I shared via chat functionality.
Okay, so this is an overview over everything, over the chat and the team files. I understand.
It's an overview. It's an overview, simply an overview. It's not an additional file storage.
Okay. Okay. So that's it. That are all the questions that we got. Andreas, can you sum up for us what are the next steps that Cosmo Consult can help you, the people, with?
Yeah, the first step would be what we can help you with to set up your Office 365 and Microsoft Teams so you can start administrating, creating users. We offer two types of trainings for administrators and for end users. So if you need some help setting up your users, register for one of our trainings. It's a 2 hours training, so it's pretty short and sums up the most important functionalities you need right now for setting up users and setting up policies for Microsoft Teams. Nothing more, so only the two important topics. And the end user training sums up the basic functionality for Microsoft Teams for all your users. So if you can send a few people to the training, maybe the key users, and the key users can give the information to other employees internally. Yeah, after we set up your tenant, join our training, see how to set up the users, and then roll out Microsoft Teams to your colleagues and your employees.
Okay, Andreas, thank you very much for all the information that you shared with us, the Microsoft Teams functionality you showed, and also the next steps that people have to do to keep their companies up and running. So you see it's not very difficult. So you can just set up the subscription and start using Microsoft Teams from the home office. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Andreas, again. And in these days, the most important thing, stay healthy. Goodbye.
Bye.